You and I talked a little bit this morning about what sparked the documentary and kind of how it grew into what it was. That's okay. Jane was just crying in the lobby.
I was crying in the lobby.
I think one of the things that really grabbed me about this movie right off the bat is, the natural beauty of the land, but also juxtaposed against your beautiful family and your views on life and how simplistic and honest that is. It's something that kind of took me back to as a child growing up around livestock in a much more removed way from the way we live now. And when you start breaking horses, when you take this wild animal out of the mountains and you begin this relationship with them, how does that begin? How do you approach that?
It's a blessing for me. It's something that I've been lucky to have in my life, and relating to the film, it was never meant to be an expose on my father or my family or anything like that. It started off like I told you. It was meant to be about horses and what I did with horses, and that's not really in the film. Little increments are. But it's been sort of evolved or grown into this thing, which is something different from the initial project, which was meant to be about horses. And it's hard for me to watch. This is the third time I've watched this film, and it was released 4 years ago or something. And it's been around the world. It's been to some big film festivals, and the Berlin Film Festival Welly went to. And I've had invitations to go to film festivals, and I've stayed away from it, because it was a hard 4 years of my life that they filmed for. It was probably the hardest 4 years of my life, and what it turned into is, if it does people good and people get something from it, I'm happy about that. The process is much like like anything. The horse process is much like anything. It's raising children. They're all individuals. You have to take into account that they are individuals. But if you put forward sound principles and no contradiction, and this is the biggest thing with horses, is contradiction. You want to teach a principle and you don't want to contradict it. And I think it's the same with children. If you're teaching them something, you shouldn't contradict it. You can't teach a child not to lie and then go and lie and say, hey, it's business or it's whatever. These are the same principles right throughout, and I've tried to live my life like that, and I've made mistakes, and I don't want to sound conceited, but I don't have regrets, even with mistakes. It's a learning opportunity. And so all these things, they all apply to the same stuff. I make a mistake on a horse. While I'm teaching it, it's a learning opportunity to try and remedy that mistake or correct it, but it's harder than if you didn't make the mistake. And the same with children, the same with yourself in life. It's the same thing. You make a mistake, it just makes it harder, but it's correctable. You can carry on and you can learn from it. And those underpinning principles with horses, they're the things that I govern my life by. They fit into every category, whether it's children, my relationship with other people, myself, relating to how I craft myself, and that's one of the biggest opportunities, is to craft yourself. And I think I mentioned there that's how I look at horses. It's a reflection of how I can change a horse's nature to something that I want and something that's valuable to me because it's productive and it's beautiful. I can do the same thing with myself, and hopefully with my children. And he's a teenage boy now, and I look at him, he's a different monster or animal to what he was back then. But he's his own individual, and that's the thing about love and about parenthood, is that whatever he becomes, that love's going to stay there. He may not be he may not be me. I definitely hope he's not me, but he may not be, the the same as me or thinking the same as me or wanting to do what I thought I would have liked them to have done, or any of my children, but you still love them. You know, that love stays there. And that shouldn't be just with family, that should be with everyone, that should be with your fellow man, that, you know, that empathy and understanding and love.